Now let's see something new in robotics. Please welcome to the stage workplace health and safety consultant and ergonomist. Been practicing this out the back, you see. Ergonomist. Chris Fitzgerald, to share the latest on exoskeletons. And I'm about to make my debut as a bionic glove model. Come up, Chris.
Thanks, Pip. Appreciate that. And I'll appreciate you more when you come up and I'll fit you up. So let's get started. So my name's Chris Fitzgerald. I'm running a project for the AMPC, Australian Meat Processor Corporation, on exoskeletons, and I'm going to demonstrate today to you a range of devices. People are merging with technologies, there's no question about that, and these devices will demonstrate how that goes. I'm way ahead of myself. Exoskeletons has come via a pathway of rehabilitation, and now it's about habilitation in the occupational setting. We're about enhancing human capacity, and these devices augment, enable, assist, and assist people to do more physical activities. There's two types of devices. They're either passive, that use springs, or active, that use power. And where they have power, you can have data as well. Pip will put you to work, and I'll set these up and demonstrate how this goes. The slides showing now really indicate the range of the devices that we've been testing with the Australian Meat Processor Corporation. Thank you. Get the hair right. Thank you.
There we go.
And the AMPC has taken this approach to get ahead rather than assess these devices as they come to market. We're getting a position so that they have a clear position about the potential to integrate these devices as they come to market. In fact, we'll pursue them for the best advantage of the industry.
And what sort of industries could these be used in?
So these gloves enhance grip capacity. So any industry where you have forceful, sustained or repetitive grip forces, these may provide a benefit. So there's no guarantee, and I'm happy to say I'm here not selling any products. I'm a researcher basically, so I call it as it is. So is that a good fit?
Yep.
Just pull that down a little bit more. So I'll just explain this briefly. I'll give you a bit more juice. Okay. So just hold your glove out there, and I'll do this as we go up. So I'm just containing the cable. So the way the device works is that there's a whole bunch of small fishing lines, fishing cables that go via the side of the fingers. They then gather at the heel of the hand and form a multi-core. And that multi-core then travels up the side of the body. No, I might just leave that one, Pip. If you turn to the side, thanks, into a device that has power. And essentially, thank you, in the backpack, there's a bunch of claws, and that as Pip contracts her fingers, so I'll give you a tool, just so happens I've got one. As Pip starts to activate that, the device is sensing what she's doing, and it's starting to activate her fingers to support the movements that she herself is initiating. So it's supporting what she's doing. It's not making her do anything. It's acting on her instruction. There's two types of modes that we have in this device, and that is there's a smart mode, which then is completely intuitive. So it uses artificial intelligence, uses your experience. It'll develop a profile of your activity. Probably more useful for people doing the same type of work repetitively because it's going to have less variance in the data. And then separately, and I'll demonstrate in a sec, there's options to configure the glove, and this is just remarkable. How's it feeling, Pip?
It's amazing. It's really hard to describe.
Yeah.
Because it's so...
Well, you're a journalist, do your best.
I know. Use your words. Use your words. Yes, so it's very firm, and it will learn, won't it? So if I was not a boner in an abattoir, it would learn that this little finger actually does a lot more work than
yes, it will.
One would think.
Yes, correct.
And
so I'm going to give you some more, so I can regulate the amount of force that it's assisting Pip by. I can do that in the program, but at the moment, based on the setting, I'm going to bring her up from 50% to 75%. In fact, there's so much, I'm going to get her to do a handstand. Can you,
No,
can you
not
do
happening.
that? Yeah, okay.
Now, there's someone here I will probably want to get on landline and they've said no, so now I can come and shake their hand or bop them on the nose.
So what's it like shaking hands?
Hey,
That's a lot better.
Is that good?
It is a lot better. So Pip and I have worked before. I did measure her grip strength back in Melbourne a few months ago.
You didn't have to say that.
She did score in the lower range of the population, so she'll get great use for this device. So
that means I could go and get a job which requires strength that I don't have on my own.
Potentially. So part of the benefit of this is just looking after people, particularly relevant for the meat industry because there's a lot of gripping, pulling, holding. And a range of uses have been identified. So potentially using this as a way of training people. So you can actually know the activation of the hand, say, relative to the knife hand, and you can sort of reinforce their own motor patterns to pick up that, and then you slowly back that off so they develop their own capacity.
Can people see my hand sort of moving, or my fingers?
Yeah. So it's a bit weird, but this machine's going crazy here. It's sort of pulling things down, and essentially it's just helping her grip. So any other industries you've come across you think that would help, Pip? Where there's a lot of gripping and grabbing and holding. It doesn't increase shoulder strength or back strength. It's about grip strength, this particular device.
In a packing shed with like heavy vegetables like pumpkins?
Yep. That's a good point. That's a good point. Yep.
Because I looked at that and thought I would last 5 seconds in that job and then I'd have to
so that's a good
run
good
away.
Gauge.
In the shearing?
Yeah, shearing could. And I was in an abattoir in Queensland earlier this week, and we were using on wizard knives, which are vibration tools that trim fat and trim sort of between skin and tissue. And they were finding that really quite helpful. So, tool use like that. So consistent, heavy tool use as well.
Because I really only carry a notebook and a pen in my job, but the cameraman and the soundos all go in the shoulders and the back. This could maybe help them.
Well, I think Josh, one of the camera operators here, is actually using an exoskeleton. So he's got one of those devices that suspends the camera in front of him. So he's not holding the full weight as a handheld camera operator. I'm not sure if you're here, Josh, but if you see him around, you'll see that's an exoskeleton. That was created about 25 years ago. It's becoming mainstream, and that's part of the reality of this. So I'm just going to explain how the device can work and be configured. So it's a device, so it's got an app. Of course, it's got an app. And we're able to configure each of those within the fingers. The dots are the sensors. So they are force sensors. And when I fitted Pip up first thing this morning, I got her maximum contraction. And all of the force measurements now are going to be described as a proportion of those maximum contractions.
And was that massive, that score?
No, it was low. So,
okay.
Sorry, I could say it's massive, but I'd be lying. So, and in industry, the general rule of thumb is if you're applying more than 12 to 15% of maximum voluntary contraction as your normal work, you've got a problem. In the abattoir the other day, I was measuring 15, 18% for some tasks, 8% for others. So, that's a good indicator. It's a good data indicator about where risk can be present. I can change, apart from changing how much force comes in, I can change how quickly that applies, the level at which it applies, whether it's 1 up to 5 newtons, and particularly I can have a locking function. So I was using the locking function with a knife worker the other day, and he just thought it was fabulous because basically once he locked in, it wasn't hazardous for him because he adapted. He just releases his grip, it released the grip, but he just felt so much better doing that type of work. So,
and will his body last longer?
Beg your pardon?
Will his shoulders or wrists or...
I would always try and redesign the work, but it's not always possible. Yeah. So that would be a priority, but the reality is it's not always possible. So I think this has got an opportunity to fill the gap. And then you can make the sensors talk. So I could activate the sensor at the base of the thumb to then trigger my little finger if that was the pattern of activity. And that's where the work is to be done in this, is to determine what we need. So I get data, I can sort of put up data, and this can tell me all about how often you're gripping. So this is a fellow I measured the other day. He's doing about sort of 2,200 grips per hour in this particular activity. Interestingly, his ring and his little fingers, so this was knife work, were working quite hard. And I asked him at the start, which fingers do you use most? Oh, mate, these three. But it's actually these three. Very, very different. And so that's going to help us develop profile. It will help us develop knife design. This is an idea, so the device, the black line is how much assistance there is, and the coloured lines are each finger and how much was actually provided. So it's a validation of what we did. My job is to create configurations of glove design to increase that. Here's each finger relative to the maximum force. And this one, the yellow line, is how much less the device contributed to reducing your force if you didn't use the glove. Massive for you, I think, Pip. So essentially, the exoskeletons, I think they're going to be ubiquitous. I put on my shoes every day. I put on my safety belt. All those things, I think they'll become normal. And rather than protect, I think they'll enhance capacity. They're going to improve an industry's ability to care for its people, which has been a message already this morning from several presenters, and really enhance capacity of people across a broader range. So a broader range of people may be able to do the same demanding work.
So I can apply for lots of jobs now?
Absolutely. I'll be a reference for you, no problem. Okay. So, and in terms of these devices beyond the glove, some of the shoulder back ones, if I'm a taller worker harvesting down here, maybe I could do with a back exoskeleton. If I'm a shorter worker reaching up, maybe I could do with a shoulder exoskeleton. It doesn't excuse poor design, but it's an option now for people. So in terms of implications for your industry, what do you think? We won't have that conversation now. I'm in the Innovation Park at the end, so please feel free to find me and have a conversation. Are they relevant? If they are, though, get ahead, learn about it. The AMPC is setting a great example, and see what it can do for your industry.
Thank you so much.
I think that's the end.
Well, thank you
thanks
very much.
And thanks to Pip for volunteering. Thank you.